Caleb Williams essentially lost the Heisman on Saturday night. Notre Dame took it from him because Caleb Williams had an awful game, his worst as a college player. It has to be. Notre Dame's defense has guys who are going to be playing at the pro level. They made Caleb Williams extremely uncomfortable. 3 interceptions, all of them bad, and he basically lost the Heisman. Now, to be fair, to win a back-to-back, you have to basically be perfect.
Yeah, and nobody else has to be perfect.
Right.
It's a very high bar. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up because Caleb Williams probably wasn't going to win the Heisman anyway. The Heisman voters do not want to see a 2-time Heisman winner. He would have had to have been perfect.
Heisman voters also rather lazy. So if no one else had really separated themselves, I think a lot of Heisman voters, forgive me, there's like thousands and thousands of them. I think some are casuals.
Totally. But the other problem is there's so many quarterbacks with nearly perfect stats out there right now. There's about 6 record-breaking quarterbacks. I mean, you could go down the list. Caleb Williams hasn't been any better. I'll defend Caleb Williams, too. This will probably make Mike and Boise mad. Caleb Williams was under so much pressure from Notre Dame. If you look at the 3 picks, every one of them, he got hit within moments after throwing that play. He has a little bit of Superman syndrome where, like Josh Allen, he thinks he could do anything on his own, and he thinks the only way we're going to beat Notre Dame is if I am absolutely doing everything for USC. So maybe this was a little bit of humility for him. But honestly, is there any quarterback that was going to win that game for USC? Do you put this on Caleb Williams? I felt like the Notre Dame just destroyed them in the trenches.
Again, really high bar for a guy we're calling generational, the terms we use for like John Elway and Andrew Luck and, Trevor Lawrence or whatever.
John Elway never made a bowl game. Andrew Luck never really achieved anything in college. Those guys lost plenty of games.
All right, sorry. So give me a couple other generational talents.
Peyton
Manning, I don't know.
No, I'm just saying.
I said Trevor Lawrence. He won the national title.
Yeah, he did. But Peyton Manning, classic. Like they never achieved. They lost a ton of games.
All right,
they shouldn't have
getting
lost.
Caught up in the semantics. Generational talent.
No,
that's what he's supposed to be.
Right. That doesn't mean so. You're not a generational talent because you lose a football game.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying. Like Peyton Manning lost a bunch of football games in college. These guys are going to lose games. They're going to have off games. I mean,
but here's the thing that's different is I think Caleb Williams, who's the other great defense that he's played against? This was like the first time he's played, and maybe I'm forgetting one, but like that he played a defense that is more representative of what he could see at the NFL than what he's going to see in college. And it was bad. And you cannot blame the weather on this one. So I think not only did Caleb Williams lose the Heisman for himself, but he might have cracked the door open on the number 1 overall pick. Now he has plenty of time to get it back. We've got a season to get to. We've got a whole draft process to go through. But at some point there was maybe nowhere to go but down for Caleb Williams because he was on such a high. But he may have cracked the door open on that number 1 overall pick.
Not to me. I'm taking Caleb Williams every day. 100 days out of 100 days. Even in that game, he made some throws that were just unbelievable. The touchdown throw where he was sort of like a joystick. He came in and out, in and out. I don't think he cracked the door at all. I think NFL teams are pretty savvy. They'll easily throw out one game and say, because every quarterback has bad games. You're never going to see a perfect resume, and they know this. And not like anybody else in this competition has not had bad games.
That's true. Apparently, like half the NFL had scouts at this game, and I think there were 10 general managers or something at this game.
It's not like they haven't seen every game Caleb Williams plays. It doesn't matter who's at what game. I think that he's totally fine. Like, who's the competition? Drake May?
Drake May, I mean...
Has Drake May, he's looked good, but has he blown you away? His numbers aren't anywhere near Caleb Williams.
No, but I mean, if you're talking about 2 guys who were basically playing at the exact same time, Caleb Williams and Drake May Saturday night, both had bad first halves, and Drake May really did rebound to have a much better second half.
Well, Caleb had a much better second half, too. Okay. Honestly, it's not Caleb Williams' fault, the kickoff. They can't stop a kickoff. It's not Caleb Williams' fault there was a fumble 6. Like, a lot of it. The second half, there were some moments like, oh, okay, he's figured it out. He's going to bring them back. But then special teams and his guy fumbling cost him the game. So I did not come away from that game and say, ooh, Caleb Williams has no talent. He was making some throws that only he could make.
Definitely not. You can't say he has no talent. I'm asking if we definitely agree that he lost the Heisman Saturday night.
Well, probably.
I was going to say, I don't know about that.
His stats are insane right now.
Who are the other candidates that, like the quarterback from Washington State, they just got pummeled by Arizona.
What about Penix from Washington?
I mean, Penix, I think, is right now in the pole position, but those guys can also have bad games.
Yeah, by the way, Caleb Williams plays Penix, so
if
USC just somehow houses him, then that changes it. I do think mid-October, it's hard to tell with the Heisman race. There's a lot of change. Bo Nix is unbelievable. Yep. Penix unbelievable. Jaden Daniels unbelievable. J.J. McCarthy unbelievable.
Yeah.
But none of these, like, there's so much schedule left. I agree with you, though. The bar is going to be so high. You can't really afford a mix-up. But not many college teams go undefeated. You have to remember that.
Definitely.
One game is, not going to define everything. If USC can beat Washington and Oregon, then maybe he's back in.
I thought this was also interesting from the game on Saturday night. Now, The Athletic sent one of their Bears reporters. Obviously, the Bears could have the top 2 picks. Justin Fields now hurt his hand. I mean, if Justin Fields misses any game, he can't afford to miss any games, right? They're likely going to move on from him this offseason. So they sent a Bears reporter just to watch Caleb Williams and to see what he's like. This was part of what stood out to this Bears reporter for The Athletic. He said, what stood out to me before the game was that Caleb Williams, didn't break down his team, like break down the huddle, despite 2 pregame opportunities. Instead, he stood to the outside of his teammates who were gathered together. He did his own thing. When the USC offense gathered as a group before taking the field for its possessions, Williams warmed up separately. He wasn't one of the captains at the coin toss. He was the last player out of the locker room when USC took the field before the game started. Now, to be fair, the writer does go on and say he celebrated with teammates after wins, after touchdowns, and stuff like that. Is that fair or unfair to be breaking down his pregame and basically saying he's standoffish from the group?
Yeah, it's not fair or unfair. It's stupid is what it is. Because any reporter or writer thinks that he knows something about character. I mean, this is why people in the business hate reporters. Because you talk about quarterback's character, and you are almost definitely wrong. They have no idea what Caleb Williams is like behind closed doors. The trainers do, the coaches do, the teammates do. But if you casually observe anecdotal things like that, you are so likely to make a mistake. We hear this every draft period. This guy's low character. This guy's not a team guy. You have zero idea. In fact, I would say, if anything, you are fooling yourself if you think that you can glean anything off that.
I agree with you. I think it can be unfair. However, the body language and what we see on the sidelines, it does play into a narrative at times that can become a problem for a team. I mean, just like at Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, they keep having to come out and defend themselves about being fiery on the sideline. Like, at some point, people are going to notice your body language, and it does become a thing.
Wait, who are the 2 quarterbacks you said?
I said Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. They keep having to defend the fact that they have a good relationship. No one believes them because of what they see on the sideline, and it becomes a narrative that they have to answer questions for week after week.
But this idea that a college quarterback is standoffish and too big a star, I mean, I've heard it about many people before, and it usually does not pan out that way. Cam Newton certainly got that at Auburn when he was starting to get his Superman persona. And believe me, that was not true.
So what about Kyler Murray or someone like that who people think he's standoffish? He gets this is when he was healthy, obviously. He always got a bad reputation of being aloof.
But not at college.
Probably not at college, but at the pros. I'm saying if Caleb Williams were to do the same thing at the pro level, he might get criticized for.
He might. I think that this is really dangerous territory.
It could be. You're right.
I think, honestly, you're so prone to make a mistake unless you're really, really inside that team to assume what he is as a teammate. I mean, it could be. I mean, would you be surprised if his teammates say, "I just love this guy to death"?
Not at all. I would not be surprised.
We don't know. Yeah, Caleb Williams. If anything, Caleb Williams has a Todd Marinovich. Like, his dad seems a little iffy. Like, his dad is like Mr. Manufacturer, #1 overall pick guy, which is always scary to me. I don't know. I don't like it.
It's always scary to me a little when the parents say the goal is to be the #1 overall pick. Like,
yeah,
that shouldn't. Listen, everyone's got their goals, and it's such an honor to be #1 overall. You work hard for it. You should get rewarded for it. But, like, don't you kind of hope your kid has a long, successful career in the NFL? Didn't Tom Brady teach everybody anything? You don't have to be #1 overall to be successful.
Oh, 100%. And you're pressuring your kids. I mean, it's worked with Caleb Williams. I think he is going to be #1 overall, and he's amazing. I guess he's not breaking down the team, though. I think teams maybe will fall to 2. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, no. The NFL's not going to care about that. The NFL thinks they can get him in the building and coach him up to the way they want him. Anyway, they're going to see the talent. He's the closest thing to Mahomes I've seen in college. The way he can move around and make those throws. I understand he had 3 picks, but he's still spectacular. All those other quarterbacks are really, really good, but is there anyone special like Caleb Williams? And you even see it in this loss. He was avoiding tacklers and throwing it 100 yards down the field. He's very special. I have no concerns despite these negatives.
EJ, you thought this was a little bit this was a fair take by the reporter.
I think the only reason why I kind of raise an eyebrow reading it is because I feel like with Caleb Williams, if there's anything we can say about him, because we don't know a lot about him personally, but there has been a little bit of he's kind of a Hollywood kind of guy linked to him. He apparently, before he's in the NFL, he wants ownership stake of any team he gets drafted by.
Yeah.
You had
Good luck with all that.
Yeah, you had the dad saying, oh, well, maybe we won't go to the team that's number one. Maybe we'll go back to school. And, me being a selfish video gamer, he's like, hey, maybe I won't be in NCAA football next year if I decide to come back to football. Like, there's been a lot of, stuff that's beyond, USC trying to win a championship with Caleb Williams, that would seem to be a lot of the conversation. So when I hear, he also, isn't really the vocal leader on the field, he's kind of to himself, it just makes me think. It doesn't make me jump to some crazy conclusion, but it does seem to kind of track with everything I've seen from Caleb Williams that's outside of football.
Can you blame him for not wanting to go to the Bears? I mean, I feel like that was lauded as hey, this dad really knows what he's talking about. That's the one thing that could derail his career, is what we think is going to be this great career, is going to the Bears. That's where quarterback careers go to die.
That's a great point. By the way, also, if you're going to USC not going to win a title because of Caleb Williams, how about a defense that's led up over 40 points 3 games in a row? You see any championship defenses? I mean, it wasn't all the defense, but that defense there's no way they're going to win a title.
Oh, no, I think that they're frauds. I'm saying from Caleb Williams' perspective, in terms of being the team guy, I'm not saying he's not. It just feels like a lot of the conversation is about individual stuff. We talk about wanting to be number one pick. We talk about wanting ownership stake. We're talking about, whether or not he's getting enough money for NCAA college football video games.
None of that's about a title.
Where are the things about trying to win a Pac-12, which they can still do, by the way. They lost a non-conference game.
Yeah, Caleb Williams hasn't said all that stuff. I think that's his group, right?
Whoever is saying it has to understand it's a salary cap violation, so it's never going to happen. You can't get ownership stake in the team. It's so silly.
And Eli, there's no more aw shucks team first guy than Eli Manning, and he did the same thing. It's not like Eli was some big Hollywood persona.
I think that was Archie who was pulling some strings.
Yeah, that was Archie. I think Caleb Williams' dad might be a bit of a problem, but I just think it's really dangerous when a reporter says something like that, because then you're setting up the stigma that Caleb Williams is not a team guy when you really don't know.